Morning! Myself and Theo are going up to the Wensleydale Creamery Visitor Centre.
This was from our stay at the Caravan and Motorhome Club site. Last week we did Hardra Falls, and this week we're doing the Wensleydale Creamery.
Let's just go out of Hawes. Turn left, it's just up here. Okay, so yeah, here we are, Wensleydale Creamery. We are at the Wensleydale Creamery. And there's a little self-guided tour with traditional cheesemaking tools. It tells you about the history of the creamery.
Did you use them?
And then through here we're going to have a cheesemaking demonstration as well.
Cheese.
Down came the mouse masher.
Oh.
So did it mash the mouse?
Well, I'm guessing that's held up and then it drops.
And mashes the mouse.
Lead weights. Where's number 5?
Up there, look. Number 5, lead weights. Depending on the size of the cheese being made, small lead weights would be used to press excess whey from the curd. The bigger the cheese, the bigger the press.
Like out there.
Wooden cheese mould. So your cheese is made in those moulds.
Yeah.
Cheese kettle? What's a cheese kettle? These cheese kettles were filled with milk and placed over the fire or set pot built of stone or brick with a fire in the centre. The milk was warmed to body temperature and left to sour to begin the cheese making process. It holds 20 gallons of milk, which would make 20 pounds of cheese.
Number 8.
Oh, that's actual cheese up there.
What? All of this? Why is it
Number
like
8 is a pound of cheese. Right, so that's 1 pound of cheese, that one. So those would be massive.
I bet it's heavy.
10.
I want the cheese right now.
These are maturing cheeses.
Matured cheese.
Yeah, so you know how Izzy likes mature cheddar?
Yeah.
They're left longer maturing than your mild cheddar.
Where's the matured cheese?
All of those, they're maturing.
No, remnant bottles.
That's those little bottles.
Maturing cheese.
Curd knives. 13. Where's number 13? Yeah.
I'm guessing these are earlier. Now,
Where's number 13?
12. We'll find it. Well, 12 milk bottles there. 13 curd knives.
Oh, it must be those. At the back.
Does it say curd?
I think it must have fallen off.
Oh my god, there's more. Number 1, what are they? Milk coolers.
So it must have been run the milk down it to cool the milk.
Why do you need a stool?
When you're milking the cows.
Oh.
The cow milking machine.
There's more on that one. What the heck? Churns, what churns?
Kit Calvert, that's that man.
Number 1, curd cheese.
Look, when this man was 10 years old, he worked on Saturdays from 10 until 4. And he just got paid a lunch and 4.
I've restarted it twice and it's still doing it, so I don't know quite what's going on with it. Is Richard in?
Richard's over with Trish in the restaurant. Pints of milk. And at the end of the demonstration from 8 pints, I should end up with one of these to make it. So all of our milk comes in raw. 42 local farmers that we work with collectively. We bring all the milk here every single day and we pasteurise it all here on site because the farms are too small to pasteurise it themselves. So it's full fat, blue top, cow's milk. We need that bit of fat in it to make good cheese. So it's full fat, blue top, okay? This cheese recipe itself goes back hundreds and hundreds of years. Traditionally, a farmhouse cheese made by the farmers' wives of the Yorkshire Downs. Milk maidens, butter makers, cheese makers. Yeah? And then the first mechanisation of cheese to the area on the top of the waterfall is Mill House, now holiday let, but that was the original creamery. And then this chap here, Kit Calvert, MBE, closed that creamery down in 1954, 53, 54. He acquired permission to build this site here, and we've been here ever since. He was a local author. He owned a bookshop in Halls. Businessman, author, preacher, and shepherd. Kit Calvert, MBE. Yeah. Tough little cookie to deal with, but a good, a real tough cookie, but a true Downsman he was. Kit Calvert, MBE. Right. All I'm going to do in my little bowl is I'm going to flit up between what happens on the factory floor today, how we make it, but how the farmers' wives used to make this cheese at home. So I'm going to flit up between factory and farmhouse cheese. Okay. I'm going to start with the factory floor first, but I will flit it between the two. Okay, factory floor first. 2:15 AM this morning, someone dressed up in a hairnet and a set of rubber willies, and in vat number 1 we got 4 vats to 4 tables, sieves in the old days, yeah, tables, and we flooded it with 15,000 litres of blue top, full fat cow's milk. Once the vat is flooded, someone then very cleverly pushes a button and warms the milk up to exactly 37 degrees centigrade exactly. It will work with cold milk, but warm milk is better for the recipe because the warm milk will activate this product. Starter culture speaks for itself. This starts the process of making this cheese. We are very famous in the cheese industry of making this on site. So we make our own. The factory floor's over there, but on the side of the factory we have a tiny, tiny little laboratory. And we've got a young lady over there called Claire. She has a tiny little chemistry set. 4.5 weeks ago in the laboratory, this was nothing more than fermented milk before it went off. But over the last 4.5 weeks, Claire has not been keeping this in a fridge. She's done exactly the reverse. She's kept it nice and snug and warm in an incubator, 35 degrees to be exact. But while it's warm, every morning she takes it out and with a little test tube kit, she tests it for 3 things iconic to this cheese recipe. 1, the accelerating rate of its bacterial content. Almost like a health drink or a yoghurt. Look, you can see how thick it gets. Yeah, so almost like a yoghurt, health drink. 2, the accelerating rate of its fermentation. Almost like a health drink and a yoghurt. But most importantly to the palate, how sour that milk has become. Before it doesn't go off, we just sour it, nice and warm. What this chemically does, scientifically does to milk, is it feeds off sugars, which are naturally in milk, turns those sugars into a lactose acid, and then with that acid, sours my milk so it releases a liquid called whey. Little Miss Muffet sat on her tuffet eating her curd and whey. Because of the heat of the room, I can show you the whey now. That's whey being released from my milk. We do not use whey in this cheese manufacturing process. So we're going to split it from the milk and then with whey, drain it out, squeeze it out before it sits on a shelf to mature. So we have to get rid of whey from this cheese manufacturing. Indian cheese, paneer, famous Indian cheese, lemon juice. As long as you can split your curd from your whey, you can use vinegar. Anything that sours your milk, but we use a culture. We do this with test tubes, chemistry set, because then we can make consistent cheese 12 months of the year. On a farm, this was very easy to make against the farming calendar of the Yorkshire Dales. They normally used to make cheese from late May up until the middle of September, because in early May, depends on the weather, those ladies are now tucked away in sheds for winter. Once the grass is a little bit better, bit drier underfoot, they get released from their sheds, they come onto spring grass, and then the farmers' wives can then milk them. Yeah? And then in around the late September, just before the final sales actually, next door, farming goes to sleep. It doesn't stop, farming just slows down, ready for winter. So from May to September, you made cheese. Easy to make at home. Keep it somewhere warm yourself. Kitchen. If the sun is really strong here on the Yorkshire Dales, which it can be in spring, pop that on your windowsill or your back doorstep of your farmhouse. And in the midday sun, over the next 2 to 3 days, just let that ferment and go sour. And that is technically all it is. I keep sniffing it. It's got a lovely little farmyard smell to it. Sour. Okay, sour milk. Okay. Once that was stirred into the machine at 2:15 this morning, we then solidify the milk into a jelly. All will become clear in a minute as to the reasons why. So I've just made, 15 minutes before you arrived, a junket of the milk. We call it a junket. It's like a wobbly jelly. And this is what I used to do it. Animal stomach rennet. From the 4th stomach of a little baby veal calf. Veal calves, or any calf, once it's been weaned on mum's milk, produces an awful lot of stomach acid to digest mum's milk. So the little animal is going to go to the butcher's as veal. That's what it was raised for on a farm. So when it passed away on the farm, but before the butcher collected the carcass of the animal, the farmer's wives used to hang the animal upside down, and from the 4th stomach, which produces a lot of acid, they open it up, and it's very good at solidifying milk into a junket. Animal rennet. However, we at Wensleydale Creamery in 2009 took a business decision. We now only ever use plant-based vegetarian thistle root rennet. We are not vegan, but all of our cheeses are plant-based vegetarian rennets. Makes labelling easier as well. Okay. Just be careful of other cheeses around the world, particularly Italian cheeses. They are still allowed under graphical status of law and origin to still use animal rennet. So be careful. Some cheeses still use animal rennet. Yeah. Roquefort cheese, famous French, animal rennet. True Parmesan, animal rennet. So be careful of your labels. Not all cheeses need that. Or that. Some use lemon juice. If you're a soft cheese, you do not junket your milk because you are soft and you do not sit on a shelf and mature. Okay? Soft cheeses don't need rennets in them. Okay. So these aren't ingredients, they are products of cheese. Okay. Right. 40 minutes this morning. These two combined, 15,000 litres of milk, to make a junket, because the farmers' wives found out over many 100 years that if you set your milk into a junket first, you could then drop a paddle into it. We used to use these cutters years ago behind you. And if you make a jelly first, you can then simply just cut the curd and very easily in your kitchen release your whey, which you can now drain off as waste, leaving the curd to make the cheese. We have a slight problem in the kitchen though. A junket is only ever made with warm milk first. And this cheese at the moment is far too soft to go onto a sieve. I only want to drain the whey off. I do not want to lose the soft cheese through the holes. Yeah? Cheese and milk was precious to a small farm. So the farmers' wives come up with a very ingenious little trick to prevent that from happening. Put your kettle on and scald your cheese in boiling water. And by scalding it very, very quickly in boiling water, it reheats that quickly, scalds it, it tightens up, as in a jacket, puts a jacket on it, and then it prevents it from going through my sieve. But it also releases lots of whey and moisture, so it squeezes tight. Yeah, so boiling water. We don't use boiling water anymore. Boiling water is very, very messy. We use these over and over in a day's work. So what we've got specially made vats that steam. Stainless steel, gap, stainless steel, and we just pass steam through and we heat this wall only. So they're double lines. Boiling water is very messy. Yeah, I'm going to give this a little stir because it takes about 40 minutes to cook. Right, pitching. An ancient word, most cheese manufacturers use it, and pitching basically just means to drain your whey. Now, hopefully, the whey will go through and leave the curd to make the cheese on top. There's a big board that tells you what we do with whey. We actually recycle this liquid here on site, and we make a bit of money out of it. We make a lot of money out of it. Protein solution. So what we do is the whey goes through the tables, collected underground in vats. We filter the whey of fat. We filter the whey of acidity, which you get in milk. And then with the protein solution that's left, in the big green tanks that sit behind you, we freeze dry that protein into a powder, pop the powder into bags and sell it for lots of money. Bodybuilding tablets, protein shakes, baby food, dairy products, sausages. Does anyone remember All Creatures Great and Small? Before she got married to James Herriot, on her farm, she had a pig in the background on the farm. So the farmers never used to waste this either. Drain it through your sieve, collect the whey in a bucket, and because of the high amount of fat and protein in it, they used to let it cool down in a bucket and then give it to the pigs before they went to the butchers to fatten them up again. Out of our front door, climb up the Cam Road, drop down to a little hamlet called Outershore, and between the hamlet of Outershore and Hubblehome, on the left-hand side of the road, that's where she sat on the roof of the farm, and All Creatures Great and Small, that's where they filmed it. On the way to Kettlewell, Calendar Girls was filmed in Kettlewell, Hero Millham, and then Grassington's where they actually filmed all the vet scenes. Yeah, All Creatures Great and Small. Look at that, no curd comes through. No. So you waste. That on the table is about a tonne. So it weighs about a tonne, 15,000 metres. But you get through quite a lot of whey here, you see. So. still got whey in it at this stage. So we do 50% by machine. The other 50% is always done with a blue plastic shovel. Because if you've done this 100% with machine, this, if it dries out too much, the recipe is ruined. And that is a ton of cheese that you'd have to throw away. So 50% by machine, the rest is done by hand. Obviously done by hand years ago. Yeah? So it comes out like a very, very bad Jamie Oliver scrambled egg. So that's the kind of consistency we want. I went to college with him, he's slightly more money than me. We're about 500 million now, isn't he? He was a little tinker in those days as well. Right, bad scrambled egg. Now, at this stage, the farmers' wives thought it was best now to preserve it while it's in this state. And hopefully in your kitchen, you've got salt. So salt preserves cheese, okay? So pre-measured, in buckets, weighed out, and the boys and girls flick it with the back of their hand from the bucket so it goes all over the top of the curd. If you threw it, it would only go in one spot. So they're quite artistic with flicking it on with the back of the hand. But it's normal table salt, that's all they use. Pre-measured, weighed out in buckets. The salt will also help to drain whey, and it will give it a touch of flavour on the palate. I'll talk about that with Normal at the end. They'll be looking for that salt, okay? So touch of salt, not much, just a touch. Right, I'm not going to use this. This is a bit more visual if I've done it by hand. This is done by machine. It's like a giant Kenwood chef, and that it mills the salt into the curd, and then hopefully we will start to crumble, okay? No. It knits together, soaks up the whey, soaks up the salt, and begins to crumble. Now we cannot sell that like that because it's all in bits, and the cheese at this stage has still got whey in it. So we use these specialised containers. We go up to a packing room to do it. Some are made of metal, some are made of plastic. We're still allowed to use the metal ones by food law, but most of them are made of plastic now. So I've got a little demonstration model. Tube, holes, and a plate. If you had a blacksmith in your hamlet, they used to make those for you if you had a blacksmith. If you did not have a blacksmith in your hamlet, you could knock on my door and you could buy my 3 wooden ones, they belong to me. And then see if a neighbouring blacksmith will make you the metal ring to go round it, see? So chips and wet wood on that. Depends on the size of your... I myself live in an old dairy, it dates back to 1650, something like that. And it was the original dairy for the whole of the hamlet, because technically our hamlet is still a working farm in parts. So these ladies were dotted all over the place. Cheese makers, butter makers, whey makers. That's why milking stalls have 3 legs. Outside my farmhouse I've got cobbles in my courtyard, and if you had 4 legs on a milking stall, you couldn't wobble on the cobbles. You can do on 3, but you can't wobble on 4. Stop the cows from slipping over, you see. Yeah, above our Arga in the kitchen, I've got all the hooks in the beams, used to take all the equipment. There's some in the front room, God knows what they were doing in the front room. We've got hooks in the front room as well. Extra cheese manufacturing. So, cheese makers, butter makers. You've heard of butter tubs, have you? Where Jeremy Clarkson got the Evo from the BBC. Be careful, it goes. It's got sheer drop to it as well. But that's where they all come racing in the summer over butter tubs. But it's quite dangerous up there. It's called butter tubs because we have a little farmers market in Hawes every Tuesday of the week, And when I used to bring butter over from Swaldale to keep the butter cool, there's a little limestone caves. And I used to get the butter in tubs, butter tubs. And I used to put it down into the limestone caves on ropes, stop the butter from melting. Right, yeah, just be careful in this weather because it's quite dangerous. But fun to drive. Right, now £1 cheese. Okay, cloth jacket. We cloth our cheeses. Being crumbly, we need to keep it together. So we cloth them up, but it also allows the cheese to breathe and to mature while it's held together. So cloth jackets are cut. Right, for some strange reason, big cheeses for supermarkets, some the size of this, literally, always guaranteed to have an airlock in them when they press. And when you press the cheeses, you cannot squeeze the airlock out. Oh, by the way, just to let you know, we don't squeeze our cheeses that way round here, like farmers' wives did. We save room on the factory floor, we squeeze our cheese that way round, and they concertina up on each other. But the farmers' wives traditionally used to do the press that way. Depends on the size of your farm. Stone, if you had a big farm. Weights or counterlever. That was the preferred one. This is the Dinsdale. The counterlever was very easy to use. You could either wind it down on the Dinsdale or you could squeeze the Dinsdale down that way. Yeah. That was the easier one to use. 3 days, average, squeeze your way out. We do it in 11 hours. Because we're 11 hours. Right, guaranteed to have an airlock. So, airlocks. You cannot squeeze them out because the cheeses are too big. So what the boys and girls do is they knock them out. They give it a little tap, give it a shuffle, decant the cheese. This is guaranteed to have an airlock in it. Do you remember that little plate that I had, a little plastic plate? It's been sucked up. It's gone up there. So they always suck them up under lock. So I'm going to tap this one out. And then hopefully, once the airlock gravity kind of takes over, we should have a £1 pointed out cheese. There you go. 3 days to dry out, average. 7 to 8 weeks to mature. Okay. So we wrap them up in cloth. Now, Norman, 28 years in the business, now retired, spends most of his time fishing, still lives here in Halls actually, funny enough. And on his retirement, Norman handed down his cheese iron to a young lady called Julie. She runs a team of 4, including Julie. We have 4 cheese graders, and every Monday and Tuesday they walk into that room that only they are allowed into, no one else is allowed into it, and they grade the cheese on their palate and sense of smell. Each table over there is racked, so each table will contain about a tonne of cheese. They pick 1 to 2 cheeses from each vat, pop them on their sides and grade them. Palate, sense of smell is needed. You can't just walk into the job. You have to have the palate and sense of smell for it, because they are able to detect salt, they are able to detect acidity. When I done cheese grading, I really struggled with this. I couldn't find this at all. A sour note. I couldn't find that for quite a few weeks. Sour note. Yep. And then on the iron, break half off, slide it onto a plate, crumble the cheese and taste it, because you can't smell double cream. You can taste double cream, but you can't smell it. There you go, full fat double cream milk. Yeah? and then with the remainder, slide that off and plug the hole. That indicates that it's a grade 2. If it's a grade 2 cheese, it just means it needs a little bit more time on the shelf to develop. But they have the final say of a grade 1 or a grade 2. Just means it needs a couple of more days on the shelf to mature. That's all it means. With that, that's all they use. However, they are also able to find one other little tiny ingredient. Cows do not flavour milk. It's the grasslands of the Yorkshire Dales that they feed on that flavours that milk and gives it a unique flavour. We have fields here that are used as pastures for livestock, and then some of the fields are used as meadows. And it's the meadows that the farmers are interested in because they contain lots and lots of wild foliage. And then in August last year, when it's nice and dry, they cut the grass twice. They bag it all up into rolls. You've probably seen them on your travels. It's called silage. And then that is used as winter feed, hay and silage, for those ladies. If it lasts, that's another problem. A couple of years ago we run out, that's another problem. That should last them until those ladies come out into spring grass. If it lasts, silage. Yeah, a couple of years ago the farmers run out, but that's another problem because of very, very bad weather. So, and that's what flavours it. And that's why, under English law, we are allowed to put that on our badge, and we're allowed to put that on our badge, indicating that that milk, flavoured with that grass, makes the Yorkshire Wensleydale cheese. Other people copy us, no problem. Marks and Spencers make their own, but they do not use that milk out there with that grass. So they can and only can use this, but it does not indicate that it comes from this region, the milk. Yeah. It's all a bit like champagne. Yeah, graphically protected. Our growth smoke is graphically protected. Welsh land, graphically protected. Oh, just going back to that. Bye-bye. That is 27 weeks out of date. This board's out of date by 27 weeks. It's a black and white UK badge now. So be careful. You might get challenged across the border. Right. Oh, cranberry. Why would anyone get hold of a famous cheese like that, break it open and put fruit into it? Has anyone ever heard of a little northern delicacy of having cheese with cake?
Yeah.
So towards the end of the farming calendar, August, September, make cheese, keep a little bit back in your larder, nice and cool. And then at Christmas, they used to pair it with Christmas cake as a little treat for the family. So we thought, marketing idea. 1993, we bought another factory down the road because we're too small to do it, we can't do it here. The cheese is made here, graded here, stored here. Judy signs off a percentage of the cheese. We send it to the other factory in refrigerated blocks. They knock it out, give it a shuffle, throw the cheese into a giant hopper. We then crumble the cheese all back up. We add the famous fruits and reform them. And because of that marketing idea, 25% of all of our sales around the world is cranberry. All on its own, 25% of our sales around the world. It's in the top 15 cheeses to be copied in the world, but we invented it. We wax them, we dip them in wax, badge in, clean film, and then it goes off to air freight. Yeah, we don't do that bit here. We're too small. Yeah. This has become so popular around the world, the Creamery one, that someone was keeping an eye on this company. We're not privately owned anymore. We're now owned by a giant Canadian company called Subuto. Does anyone here eat Cathedral City cheese, clover butter, Nuttly Butterly? Lino Subuto Jr., based in Canada, of Italian descent from Sicily, and they bought us 2.5 years ago because he wants to go big in America with this one. If Donald Trump has his way. Canada, that's where they're based. They're one of the biggest cheese manufacturers in the world. One of the richest families in the world. Yeah. Bought us because of that one. We've only ever seen him here once, which is quite nice. He flew in with 2 helicopters. I don't know why he needed 2 helicopters. We dressed him up in a hairnet and a set of rubber wellies. And he had a tour of the factory floor, got back in his helicopters again, flew off down to London for lunch. And we haven't seen him since. Sort of left us alone a little bit. We have a little bit more push button stuff to do on the factory floor because we have to comply with the other factories that he owns. But other than that, he's just left us alone to get on with it, which is quite nice. Right, that's me done. Across the road, a little shrine to Wallace and Gromit, a view over the factory floor and a cheese station area where I've got 7 cheeses ready and waiting for you. I've also done that little northern delicacy, cheese with cake. Please try it. It does work. It does work. If you went to any tea house here on the Yorkshire Dales, that's what you get as an afternoon tea. It does work, sweet and sour. So we're going to go and try that. There's a view over the factory floor and the shrine to Wallace and Gromit. Yeah. I'll leave Tim my washing up. This is really nice. About 12 cheeses, I think.
Oh yeah, I always that makes me laugh.
What escalator?
She's going up the escalator.
Oh, well, I've seen it
In a minute, I was so funny.
Oh, look,
It's salt.
There's salt.
There's a lot of salt.
Oh, I just want cheese.
Squeeze as much moisture out as possible.
All that cheese in it, that is cheating. Oh, it's not.
Well, isn't he using the British Chomsky? He's allegedly put his hand in or something and then just throw it away.
Oh, God. Why?
So here are the stages. So starting with number 1, milk pasteurisation. Going on to 2, vat filling. Starter culture edition. Rennet edition. Cutting, stirring, scalding. Pitching.
That's what they must have.
Texture development. Salting. milling, mould filling, pressing, packing, storage and grading.
Free cheese. Go test the free cheese. It's a cheese and bacon. Go and test the free cheese. Let's go test the free cheese. Well, it's very cold in there. I said it to be like quick. To go quickly. Eat as much as you can.
There should have been an arc in here. That is a different one. It's not this one. So basically you can stand at one side and you see
So the boss and Theo did try out the cafe and they said it was great. Now I tried every one of these and I actually purchased a couple of packs of cheese as well. The one that I thought I wouldn't like, which was the blue cheese, I did like, and the one that I thought I might like, really didn't like, and that was the ginger one. No, I can't. You're wasted on me. Once again. Ginger should be in ginger biscuits.
Try the egg roll up. What do you think?